Let me just put my tweet out. That is done. And let's see if we can get started this morning. Um, I don't know how it's going to affect some people because our time has changed here. I don't know if it's going to be earlier or later for some of you. So just a heads up that if your time hasn't changed like ours, then it may be a little off. So apologies for anyone that was hoping to make it here to the live chat and might be missing out because of that. Um, Also, reminder that there is maintenance today, usual time, 5 a.m. 5 a.m. PDT time or whatever it is, PST time, or I can't remember, and 1 p.m. for us here in CET. Um, I think it's supposed to last a little over an hour today. Something about a Prime update or something. I didn't really read into it too much, so I don't know what all it entails. But I didn't see housing mentioned, so I just kind of don't really pay much attention to that. Though, since we are on the subject of housing, as usual, I do want to extend another congratulations to all of the winners and honorable mentions for the Community Showdown competition that Carbine hosted. They announced the winners last Friday, and I know there's been a lot of discussion amongst community members and via Twitter and on the forums and everywhere. Um, about their thoughts on how the winners were chosen and all of that. I'm not going to really get into that. I have my own opinions about these type of competitions, and uh, everyone's going to have their own ideas as to who deserved attention and more than someone else and blah blah blah. My goal is to try and show as many of the communities that actually participated in the competition, regardless of whether or not they won or were mentioned or whatever. So I have a running list of uh, community plots that some fellow players have been providing me with to let me know, yeah, they didn't get mentioned, but they were entered into the competition. And so I will be going over those in the next few weeks. We're going to be starting with one of the winners. It is the Jabbit EU winner, Smoky Isle. I believe it was Revon and Thalathean that put this community together. And then next week we'll tackle the entity winner. And then from there, it'll be a mix of honorable mentions and those that participated but that weren't mentioned. So it's going to be just kind of a shuffling. So for at least for a while, we're going to be just focusing on community tours each week to cover all of those that participated in the competition. Again, if you weren't mentioned in the announcement blurb from Carbine, there's a chance that I might not be aware that your community was part of the competition. It's only by word of mouth that I'm getting information from those that knew someone that had entered and everything. So if you feel like you want to make sure that your community is noticed, and it did participate in the competition but wasn't mentioned, and you want to get your community into the little queue list for my broadcast, then just drop me a note. Let me know the information about it. And I will try and do my best to make our way there. I did mention that with a community, it's basically 5 plots plus all the extra ground for the communal areas. So it's going to take a long while to get through it all, especially with those that have really gone above and beyond with the custom detailing, not just buildings, but also furniture and all of that. So I gave it some thought, and I think what we will do is around my usual end time, which is around the 2 hour mark, is where I've been kind of closing things off every week. We'll see how far we've progressed. And if it looks like we're about done, I'll go ahead and finish it up, just going past the 2 hour thing. But if it looks like say we only are about halfway through or so, then I'm going to go ahead and split it into a 2 show kind of thing. But what I'm going to do is, rather than wait till next week to pick up where we left off, I'm just going to hop in tomorrow. So if we do a community tour that starts on a Wednesday and we end up having to break it down into parts, I will just continue streaming the following day. So it'll be kind of an unusual thing, and it's okay if you're usually here for Wednesday chatting and you can't make it on the Thursday. That's no problem. I just figure it's better to try and keep it to a one community per week rather than stringing it out over several weeks. Because if the longer I string it out, the longer it's going to take for us to get through these places. And I really don't want to uh, cause it to be where participants of the community challenge don't get to see their plot on the stream until 3 months down the road. I'd rather try and keep it as steady and smooth going as possible. So that's my plan. So just a heads up, if we get to the 2 hour mark today and we're still quite a bit to cover, then I will finish it up tomorrow. Usual time and everything, but it'll just be an extra stream day for this week. Excuse me. Got a little bit of a tickle in the throat. Got a slight bit of a headache, but we're going to trudge through this anyway. Also, I will do my best to alternate between the regions, even with the community deals, though I do know that I think there was one extra um, uh, honorable mention. I think they had 4 on NA side and there was only 3 on Jabbit side, so I don't know how that'll work. Again, I've gotten a few others on the list that weren't mentioned that I've been made aware of that they participated, so maybe that'll even things up, but anyway. Then once we get through all of this list of communities, we'll go back to touring the individual plots like we have been. And then every now and then I'll do a community tour as we come across new and interesting ones. So those aren't going to be, it's just going to be this one stretch of community tour obsession till we get through the queue list of those that participated in the showdown. Once we make it past that, it'll just be kind of an intermittent thing. I'll just mix it in. If I come across a really nice community that I'm adamant about touring, then I'll throw that in, and it may be another 2 or 3-parter thing for that week. But I still don't want to ignore the individual plots. It's not like it's communities or nothing at all. It's going to be a mix between the two. But like I said, for the time being, I'm going to focus on the community ones that participated in the showdown. So just a heads up on that, so you know what to be expecting and how we're going to be trying to go through it. I haven't made any express plans with the builders of these communities to provide any kind of extra information, aside from one individual that I did get in contact with. They will be joining us hopefully for whatever stream time I put forward. If I happen to miss anything, which I hope not, but again, it's going to be a tough way of trying to figure out how we're going to show this. My objective is to try and show as much as possible, including any hidden bunkers and little side hideaway pieces or whatever. But again, with the community 5 plots, it's massive, the amount of content on these communities. So I will do my best to cover it all, but apologies in advance if I accidentally or inadvertently miss some special things. I don't know exactly how I'm going to approach going through these, because at first I thought well, I would just kind of go through all of the extra areas around just to show that part and then go to the individual plots. But depending on how the builders have built up those areas, there might be walls of rock in certain places, so you can't just walk along the whole outer edge and that kind of thing. So it's just going to be, today's going to be really playing it by ear as far as the route we take. Hopefully we don't get lost too much and we find some smooth entrances or transitions between each plot so that we don't get too confused as to where we have been and where we haven't been. Um, I've already kind of mapped out the plot, the individual plots on the larger map so that I can kind of say, okay, we've been to this location, been to that location. So we'll be kind of going in a specific route, sort of, but on the actual area of each plot, it's going to be, it's, I'm just going to do my best to cover it all. That's all I can say. So let's go ahead and get started. Again, this is the Smoky Isle community plot on Jabbit EU. Um, it is, the way I understand it, is a team of two, Thalothean, Kalawanji, I think is the main name of their character, and then Revon, which I don't think they have one named Revon in this particular grouping. I think you might know them by Noric Windchaser. I think it was both of them and, you know, their alts and stuff that they put together, this little collection of plots into a single community. So as you can see, I start off, if you come in through the community entrance, you start off on the side here rather than on an individual plot. I think you can see the entry points for each individual plot. So if you were to visit them directly through their character names, you would port in here rather than at the side. I did think that maybe I could just kind of follow along and like visit each individual bit, but every time I try to visit the individual ones while I'm on the community plot, it won't let me do it. So I don't know if it's just a little quirk or what, but so we're just going to walk through it and see how we go. So we start off in the Smoky Isle, the communal area of the community plots, all this bit around these parts. And you'll see the name change every now and then as I transition from plot to plot. So just be aware of that. I can tell you, I'll be providing the information in the video description that will include the individual character names that are associated with this particular community, so that if you just want to visit a specific part, then you can do it that way as well. So yeah, let's just kind of get into it. This one I think is, it starts you off in an area that kind of looks like almost like a part of the main city. You've got like all these little port areas where vehicles can come, the different ships and stuff, transports can come and deliver visitors to this section. And you'll notice there's a bit of lag. I don't know if it's just because of the massive amount of decor that's in this place and it's kind of bogging my computer down, or if it's something else. But you can see the plots. This one here is, you can see how it transitions into a different kind of landscaping. There's more sandstone over here, whereas over here it looks more like almost like a Galeras um, area. And over here is more like a city type of deal. And I want to say good morning to Siskui and Poi and anyone else that happens to be lurking around in the chat. It's not that I'm ignoring you. I'm just trying to get myself in gear, because I went to take a look a few days ago just to see how expansive this is, and I was literally speechless as to how I'm going to go about and show this in its entirety without missing anything. It's going to be a real, I don't want to say a pain, but it's going to be difficult to reach every little nook and cranny and describe every little bit as detailed as we usually are. So that's why I say it may be broken down to several bits. Probably wondering why I'm jumping on the ship. I'm just trying to get some overall viewing here. You can see how they've built up the landscape. Pardon me. You can see some of the fab kits as well. But that just shows you how massive this place is. It's just beyond crazy how it's put together. And this one in particular, from what I saw, did a fantastic job of kind of blending them in together, using that area between to kind of mesh each zone nicely, even though maybe there's a jungle part as opposed to a desert part. They blended out pretty well. You'll see that there's a lot of like gated entrances so that you can walk seamlessly through from one area to the other. So here we've entered the first individual plot. It's Friedrich Hegel, I think is how you say it. It's called Sanctuary. So you can see even the sky lighting has changed. If you move back out to the communal area, it'll switch to a different sky. That way you're not, if you want to keep it more, all of them are the same, then of course you would set up the sky, but it works just like the zones in the actual game world, that once you enter a new zone, it just kind of morphs. So you have a little bit of a different sky treatment here. Again, most of this area here is for where visitors would land. There's a lot of faux buildings in this particular area of the build. So let me see if I can, just want to make sure I cover it all. So we're going to be doing a lot of walking. Let's see. Let's go out along this back area here. Now this is part of the communal area, but it surrounds this particular plot and they've blended it in nicely. So you got a lot of, they're using a lot of the Dominion wall bits that comes from that decor kit from the cash shop. This particular plot has, for me, a bit of an Asian feel. I don't know if it's because of the use of the metal dividers, which is kind of a favorite. But you can see they also utilize a lot of the decking pieces for not only the walk parts, but the building structures too. Kind of hard to get a good look at that. Here we have a number of vendors, you know, like a little street market. Here you can see, again, lots of photos. We saw some of the space windows, spaceship windows. This one's one of the, I think it's a Draken dresser cabinet thing, using different parts, archways of the Osun bits. Here's that weeping fountain that a lot of people like to use for their spooky plots, but it's settled right here as well. This isn't a spooky area, but they've just kind of changed it into that. So again, some faux parts and some not. Like for instance, I can go through here safely. Came past this part. If you go up the steps here, there's actually a door that will let you enter the upper area of this particular building. And you can see they've got smatterings of the exotic decor, including this vase here. and leads out to this little balcony. And look at the house, the building itself. You got those Draken, what I call pillows, but they're supposed to be shields. You've got the decking pieces, 2x4s, decking pieces for the ceilings, the roofing, and then I guess these would be triangle pieces for the attic areas. And look at this little A-frame here. It's the same principle as this. They've just modified it slightly to make it in, enlarged it and made it a nice little A-frame house building kind of thing. So here you have a little, I don't know if this is like where you come and get information or something, or a little tea house type of deal. Look at the windows. Simple, but it looks nice. I could see someone making a little city just of these little A-frame homes. Again, faux doors and a lot of these buildings. This is a giant, it's one of those chests. I think it comes from the Lop decor pack. And then they've got part of a orange dresser, and then a bottle being used for the handle there. Just, it looks like an actual doorway. It's just several pieces mushed together. Same way here. This is one of those Lop tents, and they've just oversized it and made it into this little entrance underneath. And then the building itself is on stilts. It's just pillars. I'll get a better shot of that from a distance. Here's another faux door. It's another one of those dressers, exile walls. Another faux door. This one's a picnic table. So again, it's a great place to come for examples to use if you're looking for some kind of a faux door. Even if it's not a faux building, if you have a house and you want to pretend like there's a bathroom somewhere, but you don't want to build a bathroom, you could just slap a door and say, okay, I'm going to pretend this is what leads to the restroom. Notice this is the apple cart, and they've just smushed it down so it's flat. Make it look like it's just on a little carpet here rather than the cart itself. And you can see the different styles of roofing. They've got curved walls on some of them. Go back away here. Again, apologies for the lagginess. It's just, I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's just the amount of decor on this that's freaking it out or what. These are from the Lop Shrine. That's why you have that kind of alternating glow. Just been oversized to add in some interesting different kinds of string lights rather than always using the red ones. These come from the Lop decor pack, those purple ones there. Notice we're on the outside of the plot, still along the outer edge. So there's like a lot of playroom to kind of decorate it up. There's a little pool thing that they put together. Looks like an actual waterfall that they used for the base of it. I believe this is one of the windows. It looks like they've color shifted it so it doesn't look pink or green or whatever it is. I want to tough not to want to go through and just you end up skipping over things you don't really mean to. There's like little park area behind the building. Staircase landings for this roofing, plus some of those golden arrows there. And a little laggy because it's the transition between the two areas, so that's part of it. Excuse me. Now we're back to the Smoky Isle community area. And this looks to be the usual waterfalls and windy rivers, and it looks like they've been color shifted to a bit of a more blue-green here. Keep in mind, we're still not in the actual plot area. This is all the extra, the communal part. See how I say it's kind of got that Asian feel? Just some of the elements here really stand out. Just the way they've put the buildings together and everything. And that's why I think for the most part on this extra area part around the plot, they've chosen to do a lot of the faux structures. It's more kind of like filler. So here you got that cabinet again, sandwiched between the divider ones to make it look like a different type of entrance. Same way here, they just made it where the door's on the side. Now we're back into the actual plot. But you can see how they've got the fencing between the two areas, the communal part and the other part. It works really nice. Here's a nice rounded structure topped with a dome. Again, it's just those metal dividers. Again, that's a very favorite decor piece for windowings and such, because I think it reminds folks of, like, I don't know what it's called, those like rice paper walls that looks very Asian. There's a little shrine with a chatty NPC there. These are just those ornate chests or ornate cabinets, I think. The one that a lot of people like to use for the bank vaults because of the handle on it. They just, it's like 4 of them here sandwiched together in an interesting way. Big bold use of the 2x4s and pillars. They're like giant size. This little entranceway is one of the tree tables. There we go. I'll get the piece right eventually. From here, you get a good look at some of the neighboring areas, buildings and grasses and forest parts. And again, see how they smoothly transition down from the little city into the other. They make it where there's clear entrances to both sections. And there's multiple ways to get to each zone, so it's not like it's only one way. Now, if you want to clearly define for your guest or visitor or whatever, then I'm sure there's a way you could do that. I think probably Siskiy's plot is one that's probably like that because it's a cave structure, so there's probably a designated route to follow. But these ones here are pretty much, they're open. There's a little, I guess he's like a busker doing his little, playing the drums and stuff for money. Little weapon shop. I like this little faux door to like maybe lead up to his little bedroom or something. I think this is, I don't know what kind of structure this all is. Looks like pressure dividers and such, and then of course the actual red moon door and stuff. But beyond that, it looks like it's part of one of the train pieces or um, something like that. I'm not sure. There's another little faux door. It's just one of the bookshelves and the circular window. Circular window, I think, is uh, a random world drops. It's not very common, but if you can get a hold of some, they're really nice looking. Hey, 4 of 3. Glad you could join. Yeah, that's what I meant, Siskwe. There's ways that you could do it. It's not that I mind the maze-like kind of feel that some plots have, but for someone that's trying to cover every single area, it becomes kind of a nightmare if there's not like a specific guided route of where to go. So here's another way of putting up faux doors, or just using the dividers this time. This here is that red moon light. You can see some of this, and we saw it earlier. Those are the coffee table, garage themed coffee tables. Like the little bar being used here on the squid platform. Interesting way of doing that. A lot of color shifting. You'll see like this is normally bright green and they've changed into pink and such. Back this way, I think. I think this is a combination of posters and I don't know what that is. It's pretty nice though. But notice the faux door here. It looks like uh, almost like what's it called? The medical tables. It's kind of the surface it reminds me of. I'm not sure if that's really what it is, but I really couldn't name all those pieces. I really don't know. And again, this looks like a maybe the mailbox or the bank, their version of the bank, maybe. You got some technophage circuitry here, pressure dividers. Looks like the Marauder digital net thing here. Make it look like the little opening there. Just the metal platform on the top. little bar. Again, these are those tables with the really long legs, and most of the builders we've been visiting lately, they use them, but they push it down so you don't see the long legs. There's a little well. Actually, like, I think this is how you get to the sewers down below. Notice they're using some of the newer waterfalls to give you that water animation. A lot of these pipes come from that Palavar Daily quest, Palavar Point. Whoops, stuck here. Nice use of the posters here to make this kind of like wall mural stuff. I take it this is like a little Fight Club thing. I can already tell I'm gonna get so lost in this place because we're only on the first plot and I'm not even sure what we've covered or not covered. I'm kind of disturbed by the lag here. Excuse me. Okay, so it looks like we found the bunker house for this particular plot. So we're going to go ahead and enter it because I'm not sure I'll be able to find my way back. I love these entrances. Notice they've thickened it up by putting multiples of the walls there to thicken up the entrance. It's basically archways overlapping, but they've made it thicker instead of keeping it. And that helps too if you've got things that, like, say you want to put a controller here, you don't have to worry about it poking out the back because it's hidden with the thickness of that. I always like to check the cabinets and stuff because see if they actually put anything in it. This looks like it's some kind of a weapons stash. Maybe it's like a black market kind of thing down here since it's in the sewers. Maybe it's a hideout for some group. Yeah, this looks like, I guess, a marauder hideout kind of deal. Our own little bar. There's a little meeting room. I love this table here. It's just 2x4s for most of it, and then they've inset it with some of those Red Moon bar pieces, and then it's a color shifted rug underneath. Makes it look high tech. Same way here, they've inset the little Soul Frost panel right into it so that the leader can, like, you know, tick, 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 and then put in whatever's coming out here, I guess. Treasure room. I like the cabinet here with the rare relics on display. It's looks like staircase landings and then 2x4s with glass, and then of course the spotlights to really light it up. Again, even if you don't have a particular themed plot, this could work for a personal residence. It could work for a library or a museum. It could work for any number of things. These little furniture parts that players put together often have a versatile use for them. Yeah, this is like all the little vaults that they have set up here. Here's those cabinets or dressers, the vault doors. This one's all booby trapped for folks that they don't want coming in. And that leads to the exit. I hope I saw everything down there. Let me just go back in real quick and make sure. I might have got sidetracked on one route and didn't take a look at everything. Okay, I think this is where we went in. Yeah, I don't think we went back here. With the color shifting, if you don't like that bright, gaudy blue and yellow of the exile fireplace, notice the color shifting here. It's toned it down quite a bit. Looks different but nice. So here's like a little jail. Again, most of this is just the graded shelves. If you want to go for something more like with bars that you've set up your own, the sparking wires will work, but remember they have no collision, so you can actually pass right through them. So if you want to make it so that they're solid, you could like put several sparking wires down and then like maybe put one 2x4 or something, just so that the collision is enough where you can't pass through. If you play with the collision distance carefully, you can cause it so that it behaves as if it's, and basic wood is usually like you can't squeeze through that narrow space between the wall and the 2x4, even though you've got a bunch of sparking wires in place. That's a little disturbing with the guts. Notice they've got the splash of blood down there. It's basically one of those purple eye splotches, and they've just recolored it. He's having a fun time in there. Kind of funny. Got a little lounge spot for those, I guess, the guards or whatever. Okay, I think that's it for the bunker house. So let's go back out. Okay. Yeah, I think this is basically just a big fight club. Now we came in from that way, I think. Let's go this way. Again, it's like a kind of an underground, not exactly slums, but again, this looks like a bank kind of setup, like the one outside. A lot of this is It's the same piece here and here, just this one's oversized. Again, great use of the posters, focusing in on certain parts where you don't see that, you know, Tales Beyond the Fringe writing. This here is the graffitied garage themed uh, coffee table, I believe. I have no idea what some of these parts are. Looks nifty, but some little hobo houses. Okay. Again, I think this is one of those train pieces, and they're using it as kind of like a little building here. Transition spot. A little faux door. It's a combination of the granite, what do they call it, hatch door on top of the tree table. Again, we're still on the same plot, the first one of this community, and notice they've color shifted the waterfall to make it look like spoopy green, using the toxic barrels to make it look, it almost reminds me of, was it, uh, that zone in World of Warcraft that has all that green goop. Again, these pipes with the sewage coming out, those are from the Palaver Point Daily. You get like a random pipe, or there's a couple of other things that is included, but most of them are the pipings. There's the curved, L-shaped, the vertical, and then the sewage ones. It looks really nasty, but oops, that was awesome jumping there. Man, it's like awful. I have to get on my little hoverboard to get out of there. Now I think we're back above ground. Notice they're using the Marauder emblem. I think that comes from the Red Moon decor pack. It might also come from maybe the vendor at Palaver Point once you get enough reputation. But like here's the end cap. That's one of the pipes that you can get from the daily. Now I have no idea where we're going to come out here. Or maybe we can't. Oh no, it's stuck. Oh, there we go. Come on. Don't let me out of the door. Must be in line of sight. Well, that's cruddy. I guess I gotta go back. Okay, which way do we come? This way, I think. Those big blue screens that you keep seeing, those are from the Red Moon decor pack as well. Same way with the ceiling fans, the bar stools. It comes with just a huge ton of stuff. Some of these posters here are not only travel posters, but also like, I think this is the warning sign. Over here you've got one of those arcade bits. There's probably some of the Winterfest posters and various goodies being used this way, I think. This here is a huge maintenance platform for that ceiling part there. Wow, it's really laggy. That's the wrong way. We need to go up this way. Assuming we can get back up. If not, I'll have to start back at the front again, which will be irritating, yeah, because we can't get back up the, well, foodly-hoo. Let me just go back to the front. It won't even let me do that. See if I can do, it should pop up in, yeah. So back to the front. So let's not go down the water well again. That obviously was a bad choice. Okay, so we're back on Frederick's Place. Yes, it is. Mr. Cheese. It is super massive. I like the little, looks like a soccer net or something that they've got set up here. I don't know what that's for. Just using 2x4s and then those graded flooring from Arctera. There's a cool little library. Again, there's no harm in using the bookcase over and over like this. It looks perfectly fine here. But if you want to do something a little different, we've seen in the past where others have like blocked it in with 2x4s to make it look a little less lumpy dumpy here. Some have actually taken, they'll mix and match filled ones with ones that they fill themselves. In this instance, I think it's best to go with the pre-filled bookcases and, you know, either leave them as is or maybe just add some 2x4s. But again, with the detail that they've added in so many other places, I'm sure they were rather limited on just how much they could change it up. I like how they change up the busts by coloring these up, color shifting them. Yeah, again, as a reminder for anyone dropping in, this is our first look at a community plot. Basically, it's 5 individuals that have come together, or 5 individual plots that have been bound together into a single community. These steps here, I think these are decking pieces being used for the steps, if I'm not mistaken. So it feels super massive anyway with as much detail as this one plot has put in, but it's even more so when you put 5 of them together. Here's another faux door. This one is a combination of the graded floor panel, and this is, I think the frame here is actually this window being used, just oversized. And then on top of it is one of the metal crates, the metal containers, the big long blue ones. Oh, don't worry. I think you got probably better English than I have, and that's supposed to be my native tongue. So, but yeah, I'm glad you could join, even if you don't join all the time. Again, remember, if you can't make it to our live streams as we're broadcasting, You can always catch all our videos on YouTube. I upload everything there, so we've got like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos of plots that we have toured over the last few years. This one I think is a divider with another divider set inside. It could be just a single one, but it looks like two of them together. A larger one to make the bigger frame part, and then the smaller one for the door with the bottle top for the handle. This faux door I think is a exile table. They didn't bother putting a handle on it even, but it still works. Again, I think part of this is some of those uh, train cars. I think that's where you get these little weird doors and stuff. Same way here. I think that's where that comes from. I'm kind of keeping an eye on my mini map because I'm hoping to cover all of Frederick's plot before we move on to the next one, which you can tell it's pretty massive, so it's hard to figure out if you've already been there or not. Okay, here's another faux door. Again, they're using the tree table, but notice this little bit here. I think that's part of the cuckoo clock. And they've just recolored it to kind of better match this part. And then using the top of a bottle for the handle on that. And then adding, you know, the trellises and stuff to make it look a lot nicer. I think that's the bank there that we looked at earlier. Go back this way. Hey, Faye, good morning. Notice some of these, that's the benches that they're using for the little railing here. Now I'm probably going to be going round and round in circles. I'm just double checking to make sure we see everything because I don't want to miss stuff. That's why I figured this is going to turn into a multiple day kind of deal because there's just so much to cover. Okay, I think this is the door I wasn't able to open from the outside. This is where I would have come out earlier when we were in the little fight club thing. I think that's it right there. Why it wouldn't let me open it before, I don't know, but there you go. Trying to see, it looks like there's some stuff up here, but I'm not sure how to get to it. I'm missing on. Again, apologies if I miss anything. It's not intentional. I promise. It's just there's so much to see and so much to show. Okay, this just leads me to that back. Trying to get to that upper level. You've been here before? Doesn't help that the lighting keeps switching, so it looks darker at times. That was awesome. Here's like a good upper view of some of the buildings. Like, it looks like Merc Dynamite tops almost, with windows and cylinders and stuff. This part here, that's one of the streamers, and they're just showing that little end cap for it. This is a snowy hill, and I guess it's looking like sand or something. And here's that cuckoo clock being used as kind of a door frame. And this is upside down overgrowth to make it look like ivy coming up the walls. We've seen a lot of folks use that when they want to make it look a little overgrown. Again, here's some shots of the buildings. This faux building is a bunch of bookshelves together. That's one of those bell top stoves. This here is one of the like taco stand, base taco stand kind of thing. Lots of 2x4s and staircase landings and the golden triangles, decking pieces and whatnot. That's one of those train cars here. Yeah, if I can get an even higher vantage point. Sure. No, I don't think I can get any higher than that. There's another distant view of that building we were in before. Just interesting combinations, and then the little added details like the hugel here for the little gargoyle type of bit. Again, some of these archways and some of the structure parts, this all comes from there were several packs in the cash shop included that like had like the sidewalks and stuff, and then the others had the wall pieces and emblems and bits. Okay, I think we're ready to move on to the next part. See if I can meander my way. One of the actual zony bits. I think it's here. So that was just the first plot here. Now we're moving on to the next one. So I'm going to spend some time in probably the transitional part where it says Smoky Isle, and then we'll check out some of the bits of the plot next door. And we're just going to kind of wind our way, I guess counterclockwise or whatever. So this part, this next one that we're going to be really taking a closer look at, reminds me of like a farm type deal. You can see that they kind of blended in with a lot of the trees and bushes and stones and bits to kind of play that up a little bit. Again, there's multiple ways you can get from one plot to the other, but they do a nice job of blending it up. Some of it is using snowy hills, like in this instance. Some are using just a lot of the stones and such to kind of make the paths. Others are a blending of stairs and land. Some use the upside down massive umbrella tree. And then, of course, we also have the Protostar Insta-Hill. So I'm sure there's a combination of ways that they blend the zones together. But again, this is the communal part, just the little bits on the outskirts of uh, the individual plots. So they had to spend time, because even if you had people that had 5 plots already pre-built before the communities actually went live, they still had to work quite a bit to blend them in, make sure the transition from one to the other was nice, and then fill in all this extra space that they had. I think it was either a 4 or 5K decor cap for this communal part. And look, you can see they've got like some exonite bits, made this little area for those things you got from the Alpha Sanctum. Once you complete the Alpha Sanctum instance, you get one of these, and then the others unlock in the vendor for you. So again, this is all like Insta Hills, and they're laying out their own grasses and such. All these trees and stuff here in between is all purposefully had to be planned and put down. Okay, so I'm going to kind of wander back. Now, I don't know what they're using for the hill here, or the mountain, I guess. It could be some of those, what are they called? I don't know if it was like asteroid bits. I know this is like the purple rock uh, formation. There's, I think there was some, I don't even remember what it was. It was for like a limited time you were able to get these uh, asteroids or something, and I think that's what those are. Now there are some trees, like I think it's the palm trees and stuff, that if you turn them upside down, they have like pointy ends rather than flat like some of the other trees. And those could probably be used for oversized mountains as well, if you want to go that route. So I kind of backtracked a little bit. Space rocks, that's probably what it is. It was the same time that you get that little rotating planet, and I think it was around the time that they introduced the black hole house, that kind of deal. So now we're entering Mistwood, part of this community, by Noric Windchaser. Again, I get the feeling this is uh, like a farm kind of setup, and you can see what I mean because there's like the barns, um, the gardens, little orchard parts. It's like here you have a little gourd orchard. It's just oversized trellises inside the fencing. Spacewalk rocks. Okay. I knew it was something like that. There was like, I don't know, 2 or 3 different types you could get. And it's what I used on uh, Melancholy's place. Here's a lovely little barn. It's decking pieces for the roof, and then it looks like 2x4s for the rest. Notice they color shifted it to the red coloring. Others like to use the exile walls because they're already red. It's just trickier to use them because of that brown part that's on the end. Up there very good, can I? Again, this is the reason why I don't do too many tours of jumping puzzle places, because I'm horrible at getting around. Now, some of these decor pieces, like the Kurg and the hay pile in the bucket, those are from the Lop bit. Now notice we switched back to the lighting. That's because I'm back into the communal territory. Just wanting to show that this is actually part of that purple rock formation, and they're just using it as kind of like a little bit of an outcropping here. It blends in really well, and the little grass patches help. Here's a stables, I guess, kind of deal, little setup with the little pins. Again, these are the graded shelves, hay piles, pretty straightforward. If you're looking for critters and you can't get a hold of any of the actual moving NPC animals, some of us have used the corpses that are pretty plentiful to get a hold of, easy to grab, as stand-ins. I think the favorites are typically the Pumera one that's laying down because it's probably the least mutilated corpse. And then the Aron, I think, is the next most used. The others usually are so gored up that it's kind of hard to hide. The roan just has that tongue lolling out and the one side that you have to cover. But if you position them cleverly or cover them with certain things to make it look like they got a blanket or something on them, you can kind of get away with it. Oh, are they? Well, that sounds good then, because I think a lot of people just don't want to have to buy 50 packs just to get the Kurg, multiples of them. I think that it would help if they add some more additional kinds of critters. I mean, I know we've got a lot of these, like the Ravenox and the Chimera, and a lot of like the aggressive beasts, but I think a lot of them would like to have like the Cubigs. I think that'd be a favorite for the farms, and maybe some type of like chicken-like other than this. But this, I guess, is their little chicken hutch. These are, I think these are the marauder netting shelves that they're using, or fences. One of those, one of the two, works really good. Pumpkin patch, again, they found a way to, keep the Shades Eve gourds usable for the entire year by using them as oversized gourds for the garden here. Well, I hope they stick to it then, as you say, for the residential renovation. That is something that they do. Supposedly they're going to do it every month. It'll be like a week-long event each month, and they're going to rotate the rewards. As I understood, it was going to be like combining the space chase stuff and the other like weekend events that they used to do, and they've just changed it so that they rotate the rewards each month for that. Here's a couple of fab kits. I think this is the silo one, and then that's the windmill one. And here they made their own little silo bit using circular walls. Just goes to show if you don't really want to put in the silo fab kit, you can just make your own. We've seen a few versions that works really nicely. Did I already go in this one? Notice there's the entrance. If you're coming into this individual's plot just alone, and don't come via the community, this is where you pop out. So another kind of barn type. It looks more like the storage for like grains and such. Using some of those golden arrows, some of that graded flooring from the Arctera part. Again, that's the entrance there. The WildStar, Cubic, Roan, and Jabbit. Awesome. Well, that's some excellent news then. So that's something to look forward to because I know a lot of people have been asking about. Because I think the only way you were able to get like a Jabbit was if you had like the one of the hedge fab kits. I think there's one that runs loose there, but it's like just on the fab kit itself. And the Cubig's the closest you could get with some of those Ichthian decor pieces. Okay, I don't know what this is. If that's like a little outhouse or just a storage. It's upsetting that the lighting is so dark. I don't know if it's just due to the hour or what. But here's another like little barn kind of thing. And then of course this is the actual prefab home. And they've tacked on a little like a patio. And this is one of those deals. If you don't want to do a full like cover it up kind of deal, you can just add on. We've seen some add on pools and greenhouses and uh, just extra little bit. And it's just a little touch just to make it a little different and to see how well you can blend it in to make it look like it. It just looks part of the home. It fits so nicely with it. This is the cozy version, I believe. You can see what they did in here. Pretty simple but sweet looking. I like how they've added the windows here. It's just 2x4s and then topped with the orange shelves. Very cute and classy looking. Just little touches, and it made it, its own little unique bit. I love the little hand rack here. It's just one of the Marauder net shells, and then they just added in the pans. The cabinet is just staircase landings and 2x4s with bottle tops for all of the handles. A very cute little kitchen cabinet slash refrigerator thing. This is the Gatorade machine. They've just turned it around so you see the back, and then added hammers for the handles. And then the main part of it is the empty trophy cabinets. They've got one inset inside of just like two of them here. Works out nicely. This little cabinet here, those are just the upside down trophy cabinets. You don't see that part here because they've pushed down, but this is the upside down part. Now this here for the critters, I guess it's supposed to be like the scratching pole. That's one of the legs of the tiki roofs, I think. They've probably just got it turned so that one of the legs is like out where you can't see it. And I like how they've added this one in to make it look like there's a cellar entrance from the inside. It's just the cellar entrance with the staircase landings. And for the handles, I think those are from, I suspect, one of the urns. It's pretty straightforward little bit. The railings, again, those are ladders. Some actually go through the trouble of doing the individual pieces of the banisters or whatever. But this is like the quickest way to do it using the ladders. You can also use fences. That's another favorite one. Either the wooden fences or even the railing from the decking pieces and such. Those work really good too. Go this way. I presume this is a building that's under construction, so that you see it's like got all the little blueprints and stuff and the brick piles and the tools as if it's being put together, a new type of farm thing. Let's see. Over here, this is another fab kit. It's the Pumera Matriarch something. I don't know the name of it. This is the one where it provides you a daily, and if you complete all the dailies over a period of time, then you get a little Pumera pet, if I remember correctly. You like feed it or something, you take care of it every day. Here's the garden fab kit. Again, depending on the theme of your plot and how you put it together, some fab kits are easier to blend in than others, so it's just one of those deals. Here's a great kind of overall view. You can see the city of Friedrich's Place from here nicely. Got a great shot of the sky and everything. And over here, you can just see it's just lots of trees and foresty. It's again the golden triangle, lots of layered glass to make this little attic type of building room. Again, archways, and then they've layered in the glass to make a nice little pattern. I like the little table here. It's two of those round tables together. Sometimes it's just the simple stuff like that that works out really well. Like here's the kitchen cabinetry. It's basically those Oran desks, I think, pushed down to make it look like the drawers, and then they've got just some 2x4s over top of that. Again, I have a feeling I'm going to get lost in some of this because especially the lighting is dark, and I know there's some like foresty areas that like walking into a jungle. Okay, so that's the place we went to earlier. Let's move along. I hope that we visited all of Noric's part. Just want to make sure. Let me go through one more quick pass on the opposite side. Yeah, like here's a little, I don't know if this is supposed to be like a little moon wheel or something. Looks kind of creepy ghosty. This is like a soul frost blob. And they've put some into the spooky tree as well. So it's a little creepy. I got a little ghost door in here. I guess that's her grave. That's a little morbid. It's probably an easier way to get to this. stuff, but going about it the wrong way. Okay, yeah, I think that's all for Noric's spot. So that's basically 2 plots covered, and we've almost hit the 2 hour mark already. That's why I say we'll probably have to do a continuation to finish it up. Let me just see how we're supposed to get through to the other next one. Stairs. Like civilization. I don't know what she's here for. Like a little voodoo hoodoo thing there. Okay, so this is like the outskirts, and then if I go into here, that'll be the other plot. So I'm not sure how we're gonna do this. You can see they've got some of the newer underwater stuff with the shells and some of the plants. There's some taurine stuff. This here is that, I think it's called the gnarled root, celestial root maybe. I can't remember the exact name, but it's not a very common decor piece. I actually have one and have never used it, so. Notice the roofing here, I think it's just stones that's been layered up. But if we pass into it, then we become into the Sinsea jungle by Thalathean. Palawangi, I think that's how you say the name. So this is the third plot of the 5 plot community. Just going to take a quick little look here. I don't want to get too far in. I want to go around the outside edge. You can see like there's pillars and a lot of waterfall treatment. Looks like it's been color shifted to a little bit more blue, because I think the waterfalls, the older ones, are kind of mostly gray and not very watery looking. But you can see they've snuck in Soul Frost pieces. There's Elden bits. There's Draken bits. Some of this is like the Gothic pillars, I think. Some of these are Red Moon pillars. There's this one, I think it's called the some kind of column, fierce or fiery something column deal. A lot of taurine stuff, a lot of Draken stuff. A really cool little setup there. Let's go up the stairs. Again, notice how the lighting shifts as you enter each little zone. I would assume if you keep it the same lighting, it will be the same for everyone, and you won't notice the change so much. But yeah, here's the area just above. So we're back on Thalathean's place. And this is, I think that's the figurehead there. They've got it both up and down. And then this is that, gosh, I can't remember the name. Like not celestial overgrowth, but it's the one that's got the vines that come up into the little platform. And if you make it really big, you can like climb up it. again, keep in mind this is all extra stuff that they had to cover up their areas. So a lot of use of the waterfalls, got the mossy trees. Great splitting there of the waterfalls. And how they're getting some of these things outside of the barrier, I have no idea. Most of the time I find it's difficult to do that, but I guess it's like with anything else, trial and error as to what items pass through easily. Some of it I think has to do with them being oversized, but I like how they've got like debris sunk down into these little rivers and stuff. Again, some of these stranger looking plants and bushes and stuff I think are from the newer decor kit that has like the shells and ivies and stuff, if you're wondering. I just gotta say, they've done a fantastic job of blending these in and being able to match the plot styles. There's like the entrance to the plot we're kind of skirting around right now. So if you were to come in on just the individual's name, that's where you would pop in. But look at just all the rocks and the trees. I mean, that's a lot of care putting in all the grasses and plants and being able to make it so that it looks natural with this path going through here that I'm wandering around in. Way. See a little house there. I think that's the one we were at before. Yeah, that's one of the barns from the other plot. So if we pass on through, then you come across into the jungle one. I'm gonna back up just a little bit, and I'm gonna go back down to where we would normally come into this plot. Here we go. This is where you'd normally zone in. And it reminds me of Wilder Run because of the way they set it up with the boardwalk pieces for the paths. And it has that a lot of taurine kind of feel to some of the uh, other areas in this jungle. So That's what it reminds me of. Again, the waterfalls are like fantastic if you can get a hold of them. If you can't afford or want to spend your points or money on the newer waterfalls, you can go for the older ones, or you could just use layered glass. We've seen a lot of that. Another favorite is the upside down exotic silver chalice. That's probably the most fave, but not exactly easy to get a hold of. The layered glass is easier because you can get that directly from the vendor. Chalice, though, is more of a random world drop. But if you can get a hold of it, it works a little better because the bigger you make it, the deeper the water appears to be. So for a smaller pond, it might not be so practical because you're still kind of just walking on the top. So to me, I would prefer to use the layered glass if I don't have the actual waterfall stuff to use. But for like the bigger ones, like especially if you want to like just make this whole beach scene on your plot, the chalice is far better because with that collision kind of offset from the bottom of the chalice itself, it gives the illusion that there's a depth to the water that you're wading or swimming in or whatever. Marine head statue, a big fave. If you turn it around, it's got some nice mossy bits and other texture. Um, so it's great if I've used it like super oversized to make mountains kind of framing for my plot. I've seen others use it for caves to build up their caves nicely. Got the sword there, a little floaty vent NPC. And great use of the waterfalls, gotta say, building it and making it look natural. Now, for those that had waterfalls already put in and then they introduced the newer ones, I think they had a harder time incorporating them because they had to restructure some of the stones to fit the shape. But those that have used it since and have just started from scratch or whatever, you can see how beautifully they can blend it in and make it look like it just came that way rather than having to put a bunch of pieces together. Here's another one of those gnarled roots. This is going to be one of those I'm going to get so lost in because there's paths, but they all start looking the same to me. It's going to be confusing. If you're wondering about, again, the little modi will-o-wisp look effect, that's those buoyant blue crystals. Again, we talked about how you can oversize them, push them down so you don't see the crystal part, and you just get that smoky, misty, kind of magical look. A lot of people like to use it for their spooky plots too, but it works great for jungles and things, forests, if you want to give a kind of a little magical look to them. Glarus walls, and then these pillars, I don't know what you call it, Gothic pillars or something. Some kind of treasure slash throne room, or maybe it's an offering type of setup. I'm not quite sure on that. Again, it reminds me a lot of the Wilder Run because they've got the training pillars here and all their weaponry where they would come and you do the little quests and you have to like knock them out and stuff. That's what it's very reminiscent of. I like how they're using the color shifting to get the grasses and such even a little different. I don't use that much myself, the color shifting, mostly because I'm just too lazy, two, uh, I haven't found a really good imaginative way to use it in a way that makes it necessary. And then three, I'm too cheap. I don't want to spend the tokens on it. So here's a little Lop village, because I think in Walderun they have like a couple of them at least. I think there was one that's got like the flight path and stuff there. So I think this is supposed to be reminiscent of that. I could be totally wrong and that'd be not what they intended, but that's what it reminds me of. I can't think of the name of the village that's in Walderun, but I know there is one. Notice the tree table being used kind of like a little walk-on platform here. Again, a lot of this bits like the Kurg and the tents and some other things like the string lights and bits, those all come from the LOP Decor Fab Kit. The copper gate is probably one of the few non-functional gates that we have. Why they chose to make it non-functional, I'm not sure, but it's cool looking, it's different. And they've blended it well with the little fencing here that you get from that decor kit as well. Okay. Nice use of the landings, the Orin landing pads. Just makes it look like just part of the, almost like a giant rug for this little gathering here. Again, pushing down the apple cart, the little food cart, to where you don't see the cart itself, you just see the top part. Makes it look like it's just the little carpet stuck there, and then they put a little tent thing on top. Again, the kind of offset glowy part that's coming from the shrine. Obsidian stones mostly for a lot of the formations around here. And I presume they intend to add some more here. Or maybe this is just a large training ground where they can come and have a little bit of a tussle. I'm not sure. Oh, is it a dueling area? Okay. Oh, I was close. I'm so lost. Just kind of winding around. I'm following the glowy plants. They're pretty. And hey, Caitlin, glad you could join. I love this little area. It's almost like a gazebo kind of thing. You can get a good shot of it. You see it's like Orin windows for some of it. And then inside they've got it all nicely decorated with different rugs. They got the tribal mats, carrot rug. Excuse me. Another little building. Here's a great shot of a little lot village down there. Hopefully I don't fall. You can just see how, again, it's a jungle, so you expect a lot of greenery. They've done a great job of not making it feel super overcrowded, but where it's enclosed. There's a good shot of the little houses here. Again, little windows. Okay, I'm not sure which way I'm supposed to go from here. I need to backtrack. I'm so lost. Okay, that's the entrance, I guess, again. Guess I'll follow the glowy plants back down. Great coloring on those, by the way, because I think these are normally blue, and they've changed the color. And you can see how they've used the purple rock in combination with the obsidian stones to really blend it in. Especially with the lighting, I think it blends in really well. You can't tell that it's too different. And again, I love the mixing matching of the plants and the coloring of them to make it look a little different. So here's like a little Pomera cave. The cave itself is actually an item. I forget what it's called, Matriarch Cave or something. And this is the one, the corpse that I said that's probably one of the most favorite because it's the least awful looking. It's just got a few scratches and everything, but it's not like half the side is chunked out or nothing. It's probably a fave for when the ones that want to make it look like they have a pet cat inside, they use that one. But I like the different colored grasses and stuff. Now I'm kind of lost in where we were and have been, and this way, I guess. Okay, so this is the another water feature. So past tournament, dueling area. And let's go back down. To upper part, I think. Yeah. Like I like this how they've got the little tent thing here, but then they've got like they're using the upside down leaf window as a little canopy for itself. Thought that was kind of clever. I don't remember what happened. Did we see him? I'm sure this is going to be one of those areas that I'm going to miss something important and I'm going to be so regretful. This kind of looks like a hobbit hole. I love how it's built up. There's just, I don't know what else to say about it other than, look at this cute little, it's definitely set up like the in-game, the game world lot villages where they like bring it all the way up into the trees and stuff, that's for sure. And everything's nicely connected. So there's multiple ways to get to the same location. Let's see, go up this way. Okay, am I back to where I started? Yeah, I think I just went all the way around. Yeah, okay. So we covered that part. Go back. I'm like ducking my head as if I'm gonna get through the part without any trouble, and it's nothing to do with that. Okay, here's that water feature we came up for a look at it from here, and I think this is where that platform was. Okay, so back over here. Where are we in this? I still haven't found like the presumably the bunker house or whatever's on this particular plot. I need to find that. That may be where we have to cut off for today and then pick up tomorrow. Is it inside this tree thing? No, but there's a little skeech history thing there. That's nasty. Probably one of the grossest. I mean, look, it splats across that. That's just nasty. Okay. Awesome. Jumping. Yeah, I think we're going to go ahead and stop here and finish up Thalathans tomorrow, and then we'll wrap up because we're kind of like at the halfway mark. I think we've covered most of the third plot. That still leaves us the final two, and I think we can kind of work that in uh, for a second part tomorrow. That means I will be streaming on Thursday morning. It's not going to be an all the time thing, but I think for the community tours specifically, I think it's just going to be necessary. Both mostly because I'm trying to make an effort to get to every part. I don't want to miss anything, and if you're going to go into that much detail and try to show everything, it just makes it last that much longer. And if I get kind of caught up on something that's been custom built, I can kind of rattle on excessively, so that makes it last even longer. Um, so yeah, I think we'll wrap it up here for today, but we will be finishing the Smoky Isle community tour tomorrow. It'll be the same time. We'll start around 8 a.m. CET time, whatever time that is for you, and then we'll just go for as long as we need to finish it up. I will probably snoop around here afterwards today to try and find the bunker house or whatever that might be on this one if I can. That way we can kind of start there tomorrow and then finish up this one and then move on to the last two. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know it's it felt a little rushed to me, but I'm trying to take my time. We'll just have to see how it goes. If I end up having to string it out to 3 parts, I will, but I'm hoping that we're covering most, if not everything, that's really pertinent. Again, with even prior tours and folks that post a lot of screenshots and stuff, it's always better to see these in person. But for those of you that either don't have or don't have the time to get access to opposite regions or opposite, well, I guess the faction thing really doesn't matter much anymore, but specifically for those that maybe they're on NA side and just don't have the opportunity or whatever to hop on to EU side, this is your one and maybe your only chance of actually getting to see these kind of up close. So I'm doing my best to show it as well as I can, hopefully not too fast. I know it's a little laggy in parts, but I think that's just because of the massive amount of decor being rendered. It's a little boggy for my particular computer setup. But hopefully you still get some inspiration as far as uh, ideas on how blending multiple plots into a single cohesive community plot, how big of a challenge it is, and the different ways you can go about it. We've already seen some ways that they've made the transitions between the two look fairly seamless. So hopefully for those of you that maybe haven't gotten into the community aspect yet and are looking into it or hoping to do so in the future, this will give you some ideas of how people have approached handling that communal area and retweaking their plots to adjust for the joining of their plots to others. So, and of course, just seeing the individual themes from each one and how it's tackled, different things that are custom built, ideas for landscaping and whatnot. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Again, we'll be finishing up Smoky Isle Community Tour tomorrow. And then we'll move on to NA's winner next week. And we'll be doing this for all of the winners and honorable mentions from the Community Showdown competition. But I will also be visiting some of those that weren't mentioned that actually did participate, but just weren't given any kind of acknowledgement. Um, uh, I've got a list of several that weren't mentioned, so I will be showcasing those too. If you know of a team that submitted theirs that also weren't mentioned, and you want to make sure that I reach out to their plots to take a look, just drop me a note. Probably Twitter's the easiest way, or you can drop a note in the forums or via Twitch if you want. One of those is probably the easiest and quickest to get my notice. Um, in the meantime, good luck with whatever projects you're working on. If you can't join us again, just remember we do send all of these videos to YouTube as like an archive, so you can always watch it there later. It's great for when we're having our downtime for maintenance. You can just kind of browse through that while you're waiting for the game to come back up. So yeah, thank you guys for joining me, and hope you have a great day, great weekend. And if I don't see you tomorrow, I'll see you next week, hopefully. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.